Hello and welcome for today's webinar, Easy Use of XML Files for Process Data Integration. My name is Andreas Röck and I'm the head of the product management, and I will take today the presentation of this webinar. The agenda today will be the following. First, some words about why we should collect data. Second topic, process data integration. What is this? Typical scenarios, solutions with our DataFEED OPC Suite, and a short live demo, and finally a summary. First of all, why we should collect data. Industry 4.0 describes an intelligent networking of machines and process in industry with the help of information and communication technology. One of the requirements for this is standards and norms, so that the communication between the machines and the application is possible. But last but not least, if the communication between the machine only works, it will not help. So for the topic smart production, we need something in addition. The smart production requires the availability of data from different production processes, and that's something what we call process data integration. What is process data integration? It's more or less a short sentence about it, collecting data from various production processes and make it available for higher level application. That's all. Typical scenario of process data integration solutions are provisioning of process data for application via OPC Classic or OPC UA, integration of project data via MQTT in IoT cloud solutions for the implementing of Industry 4.0 scenarios. And last but not least, process data logging in big data storages or SQL databases for later documentation, analysis, or verifications. These are typical process data integration scenarios. One of these typical scenarios is that the devices or the applications are providing this process data in a standardized way via XML files. It can be an application, a sensor, a robot, or even a controller, which provides process data via XML files. What are XML files? XML, Extensible Markup Language. XML is used for representing hierarchically structured data in a text file. The main benefit against a normal text file is this structured and hierarchical functionality of this XML file. XML is also used to exchange data between different systems due to the fact that it's a really good file format. Finally, we have an additional topic with XML. There exists a so-called XML schema definition, which provides the definition of an XML document, including the data types. It is very helpful, which I will show you in the live demo, to generate some, I will say, gateways between XML and, for example, OPC UA. These are a little bit some starting words. What we can provide you from Softing is the solution DataFEED OPC Suite. The DataFEED OPC Suite is a solution for any kind of data integration, independent if it's a data source, controller, PLC, or OPC Classic server, tunnel servers, UA server, or MQTT publisher, MQTT broker, or SQL databases. And last but not least, what is the topic for today? To get the data out of a data source file, in our case, XML file. On the other side, we have different kind of data destinations in our DataFEED OPC Suite. For example, an OPC Classic server, tunnel server, UA server. We are able to provide the information via MQTT to a broker. We can directly connect our suite to the Siemens MindSphere. We have a REST interface for providing the data to a REST server, database API for different kind of NoSQL databases. We have the possibility via an ODBC driver to put the data in a SQL database. Also, last but not least, we are also able to write the data in a file. And in the middle, we have some processing functionality, for example, a pre-processing engine, which allows you to manipulate the data which you read from the data sources, or exchange, which allows you to exchange the data between different sources, or store and forward, for most of the data destinations, we are able to store the data in case of the connection is interrupted. Or last but not least, local items, which is needed for the communication between different clients. This is our DataFEED OPC Suite. We called it an all-in-one solution for data integration. But coming back to typical scenarios from this XML topic. First is to provide the XML file data via OPC UA or OPC Classic. In this case, the DataFEED Suite acts something like a gateway and is able connecting controllers, or in this case XML files, and providing this data via OPC Classic and OPC UA to more or less provide or integrate this process data into IT systems. What we have here is, on the one hand, an automatic data type conversion between the XML files, which we read from the file, to the source, to the destination OPC Classic or OPC UA. In addition, we have a small, I will say, add-on functionality for OPC UA. It's called Reverse Connect. By default, OPC UA is a client-server protocol, and normally the client, in our case, the OPC UA client application, starts or opens a connection to the server. And this causes some problems sometimes in firewalls or in some VM sets. And in this case, via this reverse connect, the server, in our case, the DataFEED Suite, opens the connection to the client, and it's easier to open from an OT level to the IT level some ports in the firewall, because this is most time allowed. In addition, we have also a store and forward function. If the connectivity to the Classic or UA server is broken, we are buffering the data, and in case of the connection is re-established, we will automatically transmit the data which we have stored to the data destination. This is one of the typical scenarios. Second typical scenario is to read the data, and in this case, acting as an IoT cloud gateway. So we will provide this data, what we read from an XML file, through standard interfaces or IoT protocols, for example, MQTT, REST, or PPMP, to any kind of cloud applications. In this case, also the suite did the automatic data type conversion, and also for this scenario, we have an integrated store and forward function. If the connectivity to the cloud application is interrupted, we will store the data, and if the connection is re-established, we will deliver to this application the stored data automatically. This is our, I will say, second scope of functionality: reading the data from this XML file and providing this data via a standard protocol to any kind of cloud application. The third scenario is data logging. In this case, we will read also the data from the file and store this data in a big data cloud solution or in a standard SQL database. And this can be done independent if it's an, I will say, cloud hosted database or if it's a local database. From this point of view, it doesn't matter, because the suite supports the connectivity via some ODBC drivers to cloud hosted databases or NoSQL API connected databases like MongoDB. It can be also through the same interfaces connected to local hosted databases. The main benefit from the suite is, in this case, there is no need of any database programming. If the database is already configured, you can directly connect the database, and on the suite, it's only a configuration which variable you want to store in the database. In addition, we have also the possibility to store the data in a file. Again, I'm not sure if it's really happening on the customer side, but you can read maybe the XML file and store it in a TXT file or in an HTML file for further, I will say, or for other applications. It's also a possible solution. But last but not least, also for all the database connectivity, we have also implemented a store and forward functionality, and this also buffering the data if the connection is interrupted, and after the re-establishment of the connection, we will automatically forward this data to the cloud solution, to the cloud or to the local hosted databases. So these are the typical 3 scenarios what we can cover with our DataFeed OPC Suite. Now I will show you a short live demo about all the scenarios. I will have here 2 scenarios which I want to show you live. Just 1 second. Now it like me. Okay. So we have here our DataFeed OPC Suite. It's a Windows-based application which is structured like the screenshot of the picture in the presentation. We have our data sources. We have the different kind of data sources. For example, VLCs from the most common vendors, Siemens Rockwell. We have also our, I will say, OPC sources like OPC UA or OPC Classic. We have a tunnel server maybe as a source. We can able to read the data from a database, MQTT broker, MQTT publisher. And here we have now our most important functionality for today's webinar is the file read. On this file read, it is quite simple to add here a file which you want to read automatically. You activate this option, and in this case, a wizard is started. First topic is you must enter a name for this action. Then you can specify if this action should be active, and you have to specify the file which you want to read. For my demo, I have prepared something. Just 1 second. Here I have prepared my demo XML file, which I want to read. On the next slide, I can specify what kind of file I will read. Currently, it's only XML because in the first step, the only XML files are supported. In the next step, we will also support CSV files, for example, or any kind of structured text file. Then you have to specify the action type, what should be done with the file after it was read. For example, it will be renamed, and in this case, a timestamp when it was read will be added. The next topic will be deleted. For my demo, I choose will be deleted, or other topic is nothing will happen on the file. And last but not least, we have an extended setting. If the quality should be changed, if there's some missing values or some missing file, I will not activate it. On the next side, on the next wizard page, I must specify my XML structure or content. In this case, we have 3 options. First option, to specify it manually. So I can specify, for example, for the structure a node. This is my node test. This is the name which is in the address space and the name how it is in the source ID. And so I can completely, I will now take, this is my value 1, for example, value 1. And this is, for example, my structure in the XML file. When I take a look how it should look, this way should look my XML file. It's one possibility, but it's from my personal mind, not the best one. So I will delete this one, and I will show you now 2 easier ways. One way is we are importing the XML file. For this, I must choose my XML file, which was generated by the machine maybe already, or one of these files. I choose it and click here, then it will be automatically imported. And you can see now the complete structure of this XML file. This is the structure which is representing later on OPC UA, and this is a structure which is in the XML file. So it's quite simple. You can directly import your file. But this is one small drawback. The drawback is if you import this file, we are not able to get the information out of this file about the data type. For example, you can see here this double value, but to this effect that the XML file itself do not contain any information about the structured data types, I must change it manually. In this must be done for all the variables. So this is also not, I will say, very comfortable. And in this case, there exists a third option, but in this case, you must need first the XML XSD file. And I have also here one XSD file available, which I will import now. And the main benefit is this XSD files providing me additional information about the data type. And in this case, automatically, we can find here the data type information and can then generate the variable, the tag with the correct data type. So it's quite simple, quite easy. I will, my fault, check now all of the variables. This is now representing my file in the address space. In some cases, the data or the keys information in the XML file are not the best. Double value. Nobody knows what is behind, more or less. In this case, I can change the name, how it is representing in the address space of the suite later on. In this case, I can change this double value. This is, for example, this is also pieces which are red. The other one, the end, it's more or less the temperature. Then we have float, can be the order number. And this can be the customer, for example. So you can change it independent how it is in the XML file. The XML structure and information are still the same. This is now the representation in, I will say, the OPC UA world later on. This is all what you have to do, specifying the XML structure and how it should look like later on in the OPC UA world or OPC Classic world. Next topic is to specify a trigger. This specifies how often you will read the file or in which way. You can have it timer triggered, you can have it item triggered, so based on an item, or you can specify a complex variable trigger which combines different items. For my demo, I choose timer trigger. I generate now a new timer, timer 1, which is an interval timer, 1 second for this case. So I will read this file every second. That's all. On this setting is nothing to do for timer trigger. That's all what you have to configure. And now we see here our complete structure. And this is the data source side. Now, in addition, we must specify the data destination. And in this case, for our demo, I prefer to use OPC UA as a data destination. And here it's quite simple. Activate OPC UA, and now the data which we read from the file will be available through OPC UA. In addition, if you want, you can configure all the, I will say, security credentials for OPC UA, sign, encrypt, and also the different security policies. You can also specify here different OPC UA users, but for our short demo, we will use it without security because it makes it easier for me. I will copy now my OPC UA endpoint. I will save it and start now my application. And I have here a different application available. It's our OPC UA demo client. It simulates now my OPC UA application. I paste here my endpoint URL. I validate my connection. I get the certification. If I trust him, I will trust him. And I say now, OK. And in this case, I get access to the complete address space of this DataFEED OPC Suite. And in this case, I have here my 4 nodes. I can now monitor all these nodes. And in this case, I get the values. Now the values are not changed. Just 1 second. I must start my XML file generator. I have started now, and now we should see some changes of the XML values, of the values which we read out of the file. They're quite simple, quite fast, quite easy, I will say, way to read data out of an XML file and provides this data through an OPC UA interface to an OPC UA application. This is one scenario. Next topic is to provide this data now through an MQTT broker or provide it directly to the cloud. In this case, I will select the data destination MQTT broker. I add here a connection, this connection name, client ID. Client ID is important in some cases. If you want to connect to the cloud, you must use here the information which you get out of this cloud connectivity, and here also if it's active. On the next page, I specify the settings to my MQTT broker. I have a local hosted broker on my PC. I can select the different kind of protocols, for example, SSL encrypted or WebSocket encrypted. I will choose now TCP. Normally, if you have a secured protocol, you can specify the application certificates and so on, but I will use it without encryption. You can specify here now the authentication settings, and here finally we can test the connection. The connection to my broker is working. Next page, I must specify my MQTT topic. I have no test. This is my topic 1, and I like to use a flexible format. That's why I choose plain string. I will show it to you later how you can manipulate the structure. That's all what you have to specify on the MQTT connection side. You can specify in addition last well or some extended settings and also store and forward. But for our demo, we will use only a basic connection. And then I will say finish. This is the first part. And now via our data processing part, we must specify via our exchange functionality which variables we want to send through the MQTT broker. And in this case, we select, for example, some of our items which we have here also available. For example, I choose now the order number, for example, real value, and this can be now directly sent to the MQTT broker. By default, it selected an item trigger, so it means if this order number will change, we will send the information to the broker, but I can send it here also to a timer, and in this case, I can select different time. I can generate different timer, or I can select my timer, which I have also specified for read the data. I will use it. Now, this is one variable which will be sent to this topic, but in some cases, I want to send more. And in this case, I can add here via this option additional variables which I want to send to the broker. Also wizard base, if I click add, I see my address space. I can select my different nodes. For example, I will choose now customer. Next, I will select data value, but I can also select the timestamp if I want to put the timestamp into it and so on. And I say finish. So in this case, I can specify here exactly my structure, my data, how this data should like, which are sent to my MQTT broker. I can specify it however I want. I can also generate out of it, and I will say valid JSON format, for example. Oh, sorry. I can add some static information. Machine 1 or something like this, whatever I want. I'm here really flexible in specifying my MQTT payload. Say OK, save and restart. And now I have here also an MQTT client available. I will connect to my local broker. I have subscribed to topic 1, and in this case, I get all my data from my machine. Oh, so I maybe have a mistake made here. Mistake, I have a variable double. Okay, customer is double was my mistake. Okay, but you can see here all the information which are coming now via MQTT from the suite, which are read out of an XML file. This was my short demo. I will follow up now with my presentation, and then I will able to answer your question. So first, some summary. Process data integration from XML files made easy in 3 steps. What is the first step? It's always configuration of the data source XML file. When reading the data in the suite, you have to select the file to be read. And in addition, you have to define the data to be read by importing an XML structure. It's the easiest way. The second step is defining and configuration of the data destination in the DataFEED suite. For example, UA client application, configuring OPC endpoint, including security settings. It's quite easy UA. And on MQTT, first you have to configure your MQTT broker connection. Second, you have the definition for the data points to be transmitted. This is the second topic. And third topic, last but not least, is the connection of the application to the suite or to the cloud solution. It depends. Configuring the application, in my case, it was an OPC client, demo client, or you can also have this MQTT demo client application. Yeah, what is the summary? The DataFEED suite with its various options is the ideal product for data integration of process data from XML files. Information about the DataFEED suite and a free trial version can be found at this DataFEED OPC Suite link. We have in mind the trial version is running 72 hours, full functionality, and after this 72 hours, you must only restart the suite. Then it runs again 72 hours. You can completely configure it, completely test it, and later on, you can only order from us the needed licenses, and so everything is fine. If you have some further questions, you can contact us also at info.automation@softing.com. This is more or less currently all from my side. And now we are switching to the questions. There are already, I will say, 3 questions. Okay, first one is some organization topic. We should not plan the webinars in public holidays. It comes, I think, from the Czech Republic. Okay, we will take care next time. The next question comes from Mr. Jimenez. How many XML files are possible to read with the suite? We have not a hard-coded limit about the number of XML files. You can specify, I think, to read 1000 XML files is not the problem, but we have a total number of items, of data points. Completely, you are able to read a maximum number of 10,000 data points or single variables of all the, I will say, add-on applications of the suite. This includes not only read files, it includes also the database connectivity and the MQTT connectivity, and all this add-on functionality has a total limit of 10,000 different data points. From this point of view, it's not a limit about files, it's a limit about data points. So, any additional questions right now? Is the live demo recorded and accessible forever? Yes, we will provide you in the next time, I think latest tomorrow, and link on which link, on this link you can find the record and you can also find the presentation. Can I also load an OPC UA information model into the suite and map my XML against it? No, this is currently not possible. The only products which are currently supporting XML file mapping or information model mapping is the DataFEED Secure Integration Server, and in the future it will be also available within our Edge Connector products, not in the DataFEED OPC Suite. Do we have some further questions? Question from Cox. Will the Q&A be provided?
Well, the questions and answers will be provided. The ones we're discussing right now, we can provide that, I think, to
yeah,
Mr.
But
Koff.
it is also part of the record. So if you take a look into the record after we have sent you the link, then it is also part of the record, Mr. Cox. Some additional questions?
And obviously, if there are any more questions coming up after the presentation, also for Mr. Cox here, the details are here. You can always reach out to us and we'll be available.
Correct. So if you have some further question, you can send it to me, or you can send it on info.automation@softing.com, and then we will provide you also later on an answer about it. If there are no additional questions, I will say thank you for your attention, and I wish everyone a nice day, and hear you at the next webinar. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.